Yeah, it was kind of fascinating. While I was logging this tremendously long session or relatively long session of PaulyC's at the Venetian, every so often I found myself saying, God, he could have got out of trouble there so easily. Oh, he could have got out of that so easily. It's situations like this, here, where, he's taken a hammering for a while and then bang, he gets a win trigger here, and he doesn't respond to it because he doesn't know pattern betting, and he doesn't have any faith in progressive betting because he's a child of or a creature of the casinos, not in the same way that Vegas Matt is, but in a rather more blatant sort of way, in that he doesn't bet like a prat, but he spends a lot of time promoting the casinos very loudly, very sort of blatantly. But that's fine. Everybody's got to make a living, right? But at least he doesn't bet the way that Vegas Matt and Bobby Rivas and all the others do. Jason Balky and so on, where they bet like complete idiots because they know they're bulletproof. They can't lose. I don't think that the same applies to Paulie C. And in one of his videos that I watched recently, he said that he makes about 6,500 a month from YouTube, and that's good heavens, 6,500 a month. That's about 100th of what Vegas Matt makes, and probably about, I don't know, a 60th of what Jason Balky makes. I don't know. I don't do their accounting, so I'm just waffling here. But those guys make a ton of money, and there is a service online, National Slot something or other it's called, but it's very good. Where it tracks their income based upon scanning the videos that they actually put up, plus estimating from their views how much money they make from Google. And of course, that's a fine idea, but it can only track things that they put online. So, for instance, when somebody like Degen Dolt goes off, gets shit-faced and loses 20,000, that isn't in the equation. Not that they bother with him because he doesn't make enough or lose enough. But he's a guy who goes off on his own every so often without his cameraman buddy, and just plays to try to win, and invariably doesn't. But Paulie C anyway has got an approach which is it's not my approach, but it's certainly a damn sight better than the professional losers on YouTube who are all over the place. I mean, as I say, Paulie C could easily have got out of trouble here. If I just page down here, and you'll see another little burst of positives there, another one down there. You see them all the time, but you have to use them. You have to make the most of them. And if you don't do that, you're dead, And look at this. I mean, all those blues and purples and so on, and greens are opportunities that Paulie C let go by. And I want to stress, as I always do, his money, his choice. He can do what he wants. It's his channel. He's the man in charge. But, because I think that all of these guys deserve scrutiny, because I think a lot of them are dangerous, I don't think Paulie C is in that group, because he hosts other people betting, but when he plays on his own, he doesn't bet like a total loony. What you will see here, of course, is that he, like anybody else who bets relatively randomly, without any kind of proper plan, consistent plan that they believe in, you're going to get this, which is the actual value, and you're going to get his performance, which is, I mean, he managed to soften the house edge, which was nearly 16%. He cut that by more than half, and that's something that would be completely beyond Vegas Matt or any of the others, to be honest. I mean, if they were to encounter a situation like this, they would be toast. They would be destroyed, and of course they often are. My problem with all these people is that they do not apply the don't bend over rule. They take this crap and they just keep bending over, and it's stupid. It's but it's their money. It's up to them. And they can do what they want. Um, but anyway, going down again. One thing PaulyC did manage to do was he turned around a couple of times, which most of these guys don't do. It just does not happen. But then he sort of lost it because his bets were not terrible in terms of win value versus loss value, 123%. But the trouble is that he lost so many more bets than he won that 123% didn't bail him out, didn't get him out of the doo-doo. So that's how it goes. If you don't have a plan, and I'm telling you, I know a good one. It's called pattern betting, and it's available to anybody for free on YouTube, and I've put up dozens upon dozens, probably by now hundreds of demos in which I kick the crap out of baccarat and blackjack. And it's there for anybody to see. And this, the algorithm that you're going to be seeing in action in just a moment never changes. But I've still got these prats who come back to me every so often and say things like, well, obviously you're manipulating the data to make your strategy look good. And all I can say to them is, why? I mean, why am I doing that? If I were one of these crooks selling a fake, useless, half-assed bloody strategy like that terrible Brit, what's his face, casino match faker, who's constantly peddling, not for money, but telling people, this is the most fantastic roulette strategy. It is absolutely incredible. I'd stake my life on this. It has a 99% win percentage. It's all bollocks. I mean, to me, that guy is still in the casino business because he's got no other possible motivation for doing what he's doing, which is, he's pitching ideas which are completely useless because they are completely vulnerable to the player edge, to the house edge of 2.6% for single zero roulette, and there's just no getting around it. Good to see anyway that PaulyC managed to reduce the house edge, but not by enough to put any money in his pocket. Pattern betting, let's go check that out. Very, very different story. Much more money in play at some points, but the final win was over 15,000. That's 5.5 times PaulyC's result, which of course was negative. So the negative is plus 100%, and then the other 456% is starting from there. Action was 425% of PaulyC's. Win percentage 6.6%. Damn sight better than 15.6% against you, that's for sure. Maximum exposure was higher. It was nearly 8 times PaulyC's. But the difference is pattern betting won, for goodness sake. PaulyC got his ass kicked. Not as badly as Vegas Matt would have done against the same set, or Jason Bulkey, or Bobby Rivas, or any of those people, including Dana White. I mean, they would have been destroyed because of the way that they bet. They have no plan. They have no, I mean, PaulyC at least is making some kind of attempt at money management. But, I mean, I've got a model that I just completed, which tests PaulyC's whole idea. Basically what he does is when he loses, he falls back to a minimum bet, unless he doesn't feel like it, which means, of course, that it's random. But very often he will lose like 400 and he'll drop immediately back to 100, and then he'll win 100 and he'll jump back up to 400. That's not the way to go. You've got to wait way beyond a single loss before you do anything drastic like that. And this is why, of course, pattern betting keeps winning, because even through all this crap here, I mean, we reduced here and kept reducing. Oh, and then we had a win up here. We had an 800 win up here. So that resumed the full value bet, and so then we won 3,400, and that gave us a final win of 100, which isn't enough according to the way that I do things in real play. But I don't mess with the algorithm anymore. I don't want to touch it because all I want to show to you folks out there is that if you use a fixed, absolutely tactical, strategic betting strategy, which is backed by a shitload of money, you can beat the house. But I mean, we only went, it's just over 40,000 in the toilet before we came out to win 15,000 plus. And, but anyway, I'm marking gags here to show you this is where I would have run away if it had been me. But I'm never, ever saying to any of you people, you are automatically guaranteed better, greener pastures if you gag. I have never said that, and I never would, because it is wrong. But what's happening is that you're getting, number one, you're getting a chance to escape what might be or might not be a continuing mean streak, a continuing losing streak. So, for instance, here, we gag out of this one, and it got a lot worse before it got better. And then all of a sudden we had bang, bang. We had quick wins and away we went. There was another gag up here, which didn't get much worse. It was another loss and then a win and then two losses and then bang, bang. Because the two losses are within the 3-play limit, we were betting in full and we came out with flying colours. Coming further down, look at this gag here. I mean, that would have saved us another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 losses in the same horrible losing streak before we hit a win here. And that's the trigger. It was at a reduced bet. That's in the drop zone. And anybody can confirm how that works by watching any one of dozens upon dozens upon dozens of blackjack demos that I put up. We're in the drop zone here, and then then we bet full value, and we catch a natural. But I'd have been out of that here, and that was a really shitty losing streak, mean streak that just went on forever. There's another one here, and why these guys bend over the way they do, I don't know. It was not a gag simply because we started out this session with 3 consecutive wins. So that blew those away. And then that meant that this was a handleable, okay situation. Came out well with that one because we got another natural at high value. So that's always good news. But anyway, we come down to the end of it, and let's go back to the top again and look at the differences between Pauly's performance and Algy's. Algy's average win was 734, average loss 414. That's 177%. That's how much the average win value is in relation to the average loss value. And all of you folks out there who say it isn't possible to win more when you win than you lose when you lose, please get your heads out of the wherever you've got them right now, because it's a dark and stupid place which is not enabling you to think straight. It is not only possible, it's damn well essential. And, if you don't use a strategy that you believe in, that you apply consistently without ever wavering, if you don't do that, you're going to get your butt kicked every time, just like PaulyC did in this session. Going down to Pauly again, his was 123, 231 over 188. Much smaller bets than mine, but he lost. He lost. Algy didn't, And that's what really matters in these situations. You've got to recognize that the aim of the game is to make money, build the bankroll, keep moving up and up and up. And yeah, we got to 18,000 down here. Well, the reason that happened, is what I do to get the maximum exposure. As I say, anywhere where there's a big exposure number, I'll take that and then I'll add the value of the next bet, which could have been lost. Okay, so then that gives me 40,625 as my exposure. When in fact we can see here that in fact it was only 18,163. But still, there was a big bet that came after that. Okay. So we know that we went from that all the way up to, plus 2,000. So the bet was somewhere around 20,000. So that would mean that the true figure is minus 18 plus the value of whatever the bet was that turned out to be a winner. But remember that what happens with this strategy, and this is the one of the important engines for it, is that you keep on chasing the turnaround. So you adjust your bets according to your target, which is the size of the hole you're in, the depth of the crap that you've sunk into, the depth of the hole, so that you're saying all the time. I mean, like here, for instance, we know that well, that's not a particularly useful one, because the next bet was a repeat because of a wash. But let's go down a bit here. So 10,200. The hole is 20,225. So we doubled the prior bet. If that had been Paulie, one win, and he'd have said, "Okay, I'm dropping back to the minimum." Bad idea. Like I say, I just ran a test today which involved something like 35 million rounds. PaulyC's drop back to 100 method is rubbish. It is rubbish. He believes in it, though, and of course believing in it is at least better than not believing in what you're doing. And his money management is better than anybody else, as far as I can see, anybody else that I've tracked. And that most definitely includes the high rollers like Crazy Cody, Burn Money, and I can't touch the other Toronto Canadian Goober. I mean, that guy is he doesn't get quite as froth at the mouthy as Crazy Cody, but he is a Looney Tune for sure. And I think I can only handle one loony at a time, if that. But anyway, the message I want to get across here is: don't bend over. When you walk away from a crap game, a lousy game is what I should say, in case you confuse it with a dice game. When you walk away from a shit game or a lousy shoe or whatever, you're not necessarily going to get into a better situation, but you probably won't get into a worse situation. Simply because the normal pattern, and it's called pattern betting for a reason, the normal pattern is just a couple of negatives, a couple of positives, a couple of maybe three wins, 2 losses, 5 losses, 4 wins, like that. And this sort of thing is not the norm. It is, however, not rare. So you've got to be ready for it at all times. And one of the ways you get ready for it is to say, "Sod this for a game of candles. I'm leaving this shoe. I don't like it." And for any other reason, you can walk away. It's not going to hurt you in the long run. It's going to be probably 50-50 in terms of wins and losses. But in terms of money in the bank, it's going to be dramatically different, because you can see that from here, that if I had waited, and I should have marked all the shuffles, and I didn't do that, but the way that I feel is that, I can't gag anyway while I'm tracking these guys. It's just not possible to do that. So, I don't worry too much. I should try to remember to mark all the shuffles. And something about the, excuse me, the VeneeeSHUNNN that I absolutely hate is the fact that they have these shuffle machines grinding away, and I don't understand why they don't just have those on the desk in the middle of the pit, far away from the sensitive ears of punters. I mean, who needs to hear something that sounds like, I don't know, a robot vacuum cleaner or something, bumping and bumping and bumping and thumping and grinding and all the rest of it. I mean, I think it would be much better if places like the Venetian were like the online casinos, where you'll see somebody shuffling a new 8-deck set of cards at the side of the table while the other game is going on. I mean, that's certainly better than this going on, especially when you add to that the noise that PaulyC makes as part of his shtick. But anyway, thank you, PaulyC, for this lot. I know that you'll never be watching this, but I'm telling you, what you need is pattern betting, because if you combine that with your, I think, very sensible approach to the game, it's certainly, as I have said many times, it is certainly better than most, but it isn't as good as it could be. That's really all I'm saying to you. Anyway, I'm going to try and get this up tonight, which means that it's much later here than it is 8 hours behind in Las Vegas. Not that I'm aiming at Vegas in particular, but I do like to try and get an audience overnight in the States while I'm sleeping. So, anyway, time for me to wander off, and just think about pattern betting. It won't cost you anything. It will definitely make you a winner more often than you are right now. But if you don't have enough money to back your play, please don't risk a dime, you know, because the one thing with Las Vegas now is, you used to be able to sort of go there with a small budget and know that things like a room for the night, a comfortable, clean room for the night, and meals to fill you up while you're trying to make a little bit of money at the tables was all cheap, and it was all designed to bring you in as sort of a loss leader. They don't do that anymore, and that is to Vegas's detriment. And I am delighted to see that Vegas is spiraling down right now. I suppose in great part because the snowbirds are no longer flying south because of Big Mouth, and that's probably not going to change until Dana White's best friend is either departed or at least departed from the White House. So anyway, that's a whole other story, is it not? I will catch up with you later. Bye.